You're about to listen to the WCEG Network. We are the worldwide community empowerment group where we speak life and truth into the community. You can log on to WCEGTalkRadio.com and watch us live on your smart TV, on Roku channel, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and now on Fanbase and Blue Sky. Search for WCEG and subscribe to all social media platforms. Hey, I'm Anthony C. Aiken, co-host of WCEG Talk Radio, along with my other co-host. And your name, sir, is?
Herman Anderson.
That's right. That's
Hi.
my buddy. And for the next hour, you'll be listening to us because we have an outstanding guest on today. But first, we need you to download free the WCEG mobile app. Alexa, play WCEG Talk Radio, and listen to WCEG on any of our 12 podcast distribution platforms. Last but not least, our disclaimer. The topics and opinions are those of the show host and the guest, and not WCEG Network. Thank you for your continued support. My brother Herman, how are you doing?
We're doing well, and I want to welcome our listeners to another episode of Veterans Today. We're here to empower the community and empower the people we focus on veterans event, we focus on family, we focus on community involvement and outreach. So that is what we're going to be doing today.
You know what, Herman, I had the opportunity, just like you, to think about some of our past shows and the soon be all these years. And I'm just amazed by, with us speaking truth into the community, the number of veterans and families we've had the opportunity to support and help. That when they felt that their backs were against the wall and didn't know what to do, we were able to send them or give them information for them to meet a third party willing to be that outside source to lead them down the road that they can get the benefits and can get the compensations that they've earned. Nothing given to them, but what they've earned. You agree with that, Herman?
I agree with that. And as a lot of people know, I have a nonprofit, and our motto is to help veterans get their benefits and understand their entitlements.
That is
And
true.
that means a lot of opportunity financially, medically, community outreach, and food insecurity and homeless also.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think we had great success.
Yeah. I mean, I can think about the young lady that was sexually abused for a number of years in the military and felt that she was backwards against the wall, and we got her some help through a third party organization, DFW, I think it was, and DAV to help her get the support. Or the other veteran who had gone into the system back in right after the Korean War, and his advisor passed, and for all those years he didn't know what to do. But finally, listening to us, was able to step up and to receive a check with number zeros behind it that he earned, not given, he earned. Or even another veteran from World War II who never went to the VA system, never. And we were able to lead him down the path. So from that, I salute you, my brother, for the work and things that we've done in speaking truth to the community worldwide.
We are still doing it, and let's get our guest involved. And he's also part of the WCEG family. So uh, tell us about yourself, Mr. Edwards.
Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for having me on. I can't think of another group who is actually doing the job that you guys are doing on this podcast for some of the most sacred sector of our community, and that's our veterans. We can never do enough for them. They have endured trials and tribulations just in the fact of getting things that are warranted them because they were in our military. So let me thank you all so much for doing this, not just today, but every day. There's still a whole lot of people out there, veterans out there that we need to help and that we can help. And sometimes help is not always picking them up or taking them somewhere, but giving them the information, as you said, Mr. Anderson. How do you get help? Where do you go? And then follow and walking through with them that process, so they can prevail in the end. So my hats off to both of you, even though you're megas. My hats off to both of you for the excellent job you're doing for the Americans.
Yeah, I totally agree with you because it's a team effort.
Yes.
You know, alpha and omega. You know,
Yes.
beginning and
beginning
the end.
end, right.
You know, so in between that part, and
Yeah.
what Herbert and I like to talk about is your dash. What is your dash like in life? And if you can't look over your shoulder and say the one word that we always profess is uplift, then what's your worth? So your being on the show today is more in the line of uplift. We need you to tell us a little bit about who is Bill Edwards today, and then we can get into why you're here today.
Well, I always tell people that I'm Gussie Mae's baby boy. And I'm from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, little town down South Florida, y'all probably know about. Came here to go to Morehouse College and stayed here, never went back to Florida, only just to visit. I learned very early in my career that the most important thing that, and you guys are doing it today, is that if you want to be the best that you can be, then just serve. If you want to be the best doctor, just serve. If you want to be the best lawyer, you just got to serve. And service meant a lot to me. I started my career, I was working for Allstate Insurance Company for 33 years. I was also president of the Old National Merchants Association. I began my service there for 13 years. And then later on, after Michael Hightower left office, I became the Fulton County Commissioner, where I served again for 14 years. And then after that, I became the first mayor of the City of South Fulton. So if you ask me today, what's the most important thing to me in what I do and what I've done, and that would simply to tell you that I believe that I served, and I believe that I served well. And all people, if everybody would just remember that we as fraternity guys, we know, but just remember that the service you give reflects upon your present and reflects upon your past. Continue to serve, and you'll always be the greatest person you can be.
I like that. Reflect upon your present and reflect upon your past.
Yes.
You know, in the military, and Herman can concur with that, we don't believe in BS.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We believe in what we call strategic planning, understanding the mission, understanding the goals and objectives, and trying to make your unit a cohort organization. One team, one mission. And I'm sure in your political career, you try to develop that concept.
Yes.
Of one team, one mission, because the flow of the organization comes from the tone of the leadership. Do you agree?
I agree wholeheartedly, and I love that one team, one mission. Even through my travel through politics, endeavoring every day to try to achieve that. We find ourselves today with the City of South Fulton that we still have not achieved that one team, one mission. And one of the things that I want to do, see, I tell people all the time, I'm not running for mayor. I've already been mayor. I'm running to put this city back on the course that we started on. I'm running to finish this job. And the concept of one team, one mission is so valuable, so important. I can give you an example. Our council people, by charter, they're supposed to be policymakers. That's their jobs. What happened was, somewhere down the line, somebody stepped out of the box and went from doing the policy to engaging themselves in operations. And it kind of confused everybody. and kind of brought other things in like jealousy. Everybody wants credit for everything they do. Things like that, which should not have been a part of their regular performance of what they do. One team, one mission, Mr. Anderson, is definitely what it is, and we strive to that till to this day.
Well, I think a key point you made is there's a line between policy and operation, and also there's distinction when you have the charter or the bylaws and people by choice or by whatever reason interpret them differently. That that interferes with being a coherent unit and organization. So to me, policy and operation in the people staying in their lane is very important.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, when I became mayor, guys, I had a inauguration and came home and I went to bed and I got up the next morning and realized that I didn't have a telephone, I didn't have an office, I didn't have a police nor fire department, didn't have much staff, and I came into this job with an $8 million debt worth of debt and only $60 million in the bank. There's a lot to overcome. And then the first several months after that, then came the worst tornado that ever hit South Fulton. And it hit right smack in the middle of the city of South Fulton. And I was like, what else new, God, that you're going to do? Well, he came up with something a little bit different. After that, guess what came in? A pandemic. A pandemic. So in the midst of all of that, we still had to bring in employees. We brought over some 500 employees. We had a contract with the county to do our essential services, fire and police. But of course, you know, that contract was in the county's favor financially. So we had to, it was a year contract. We were able to get out of that contract in 11 months. Did we have to borrow money? Sure we did. We had we had 2 loans for this city. And it were 1-year loans, and we paid those loans back within 11 months. I think 11 months is a good time for us. We just pay everybody back. We don't want to be bothered with it anymore. And at the end of the day, when I left office, that $80 million deficit was turned into a $75 million profit in the bank. So it was a lot to overcome. We're glad that we could. There's a lot of resilience. We had to have a lot of resilience in this city to get where we need to go. And I kept pushing that and kept pushing that and kept pushing that. So now, right now, I want to finish the job. I want to finish where we started. Somewhere down the line, we jumped off. A gentleman explained it to me one time, guys. He said to me, he said, Bill, you know what the difference between the first four years of South Fulton and the last 4 years? I said, I probably could tell you a lot. He said, no, there's only one reason. And I said, well, you tell me. Here's what he said. The first 4 years, you had an adult in the room. I was thinking to myself, He said, when the adult left, the children went crazy. that was his whole view. It sounds comical, but it makes a lot of sense. So I'm trying to put that adult back in the room. I'm trying to bring in communications, collaboration, consistent. We're just trying to love on each other to get that vision that you talked about, Mr. Anderson. And so I don't have to run to be mayor. I've been mayor before. I understand that. I've been Fulton County Commissioner before. So I'm not seeking no titles. I'm just seeking to come back in to set things on the right track, not for just us, but the veterans that you talk about, the children, the families, they deserve better.
Well, not only are the residents of the city of South Fulton's watching, but the city of Atlanta, the state of Georgia,
Yes.
United States, the southeastern region, because as you said before, for a period of almost a year, there was almost many negative comments in regards to the direction of the city. It was very interesting to say that, yeah, I want to return the city back to where it was before. And that's going to take some monumental working to um, you with your background, the number of years in politics, to assimilate a team that would believe in that one team, one mission of getting the city back to where it was before. And we don't endorse anyone, but we want to state that someone like yourself with the strong background, if you're successful, then that's what these constituents would look forward to getting. Do you agree with that?
Well, I agree with that. It's kind of like, when your child first get his driver's license, his learner's permit, and he may drive you to the store or something like that. But when you're going on a long distance trip, you don't want your child driving with a learner's permit, right? So you need somebody that got a license. This city needs someone with a license. And what I mean by that, there are several things that you need to, as an elected official, you need to have. You need to have relationships. What are relationships? Relationships with everybody, other governments, with your constituency, with your community. You have to build strong relationships. You have to be able to work across the table. I don't care whether you're Republican or Democrat. If we're working on an issue, we need to have some mutual agreement as to where we're going, because we're working for the people and not ourselves. You got to have those things. I can pick up the phone and I used to pick up the phone and call the governor. I can call Rob Pitts, whatever. I had the cell phone numbers. And because of that, that made me very, very important, because I had those kinds of relationships. Give you a classic example. When they made the city, they did not draw in Fulton Industrial Boulevard, which was a total of about $9 million worth of revenue that the city of South Fulton was not getting. For almost 2.5 years, they sent attorneys and lobbyists to try to get that situation turned around. Well, what I asked was, let's not do it this year. Let's send me and just hush. We went there and we talked with the legislators. My defense was, we have been paying for Fulton Industrial all our lives, so why should you have it? The other thing was, we had some great legislators that they thought we would not get it passed. And gentlemen, once it came to a vote, after we had finished, but I'm gonna say, this is the first time I'm gonna say aye. After I had finished, we had one dissenting vote between the House and the Senate against us. They said the governor wouldn't sign it. I knew better. I knew he would. And it was the last minute, but the governor signed it. Now, that's $9 million of revenue back into our coffers. And we recovered land that we should have had all the time that should have been ours. But if you got to the right relationships, if you can communicate in a way that does not belittle you or the person you're communicating with, you can achieve the goal that you want. And so we got Fulton Industrial back into our coffers, the largest industrial area in the Northeast, and we got it back into the city.
I think a relationship is very important, and you build a relationship throughout life. They just don't happen overnight.
Right.
And I think also that the city of South Fulton is the sixth largest city in Georgia.
Yes.
And so that adds to how important it is. And also, another thing you mentioned is experience is the best teacher.
Right.
You need experience we want to be inclusive and include everybody.
Yeah.
But experience is the best teacher.
Yeah.
So I think that's good.
Well, Ms. Aiken, like I said, you need to drive somebody with a driver's license right now. Everybody think they can do what they want to do, but they really can't. You need somebody who's had the knowledge, who had the experience to get this city back on its right pace. Now, I'll say something else to you. We talk about the sixth largest city in Georgia. All of that is good. But the other little thing that comes up sometimes is that we're the blackest city in America. That doesn't bother me. I mean, that is, to me, if that is true, then that's just a numerical fact. But I want to try to be the best city in Georgia. I don't care if black, white, purple, or green. We need to be the best city in Georgia. We're the second largest city in Fulton County. And we need to be about the business of taking us to the next step. Now, how do I feel we can get there? Let me tell you. There's 4 principal steps for me. One is sustainability. We got to go in and we're going to have to change a lot of stuff. We're going to have to look at our leadership. Now, I'm talking about the leadership. Now, I'm not talking about council people. I'm talking about people who work for the city. Are we getting everything that we need to get out of them? How is the morale of our people? Are they properly trained to do the jobs that they need to be done? Are we spending our money in the right way? Are we building buildings that we can't afford to sustain a year from now? Sustainability is very, 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 very important. The other thing for me is economic development. Yes, we've had some economic development, but you know, guys, we need to go to the next rung on the ladder. We've nothing against small businesses. I love them. I love mom and pops. I love beauty salons. But there comes a time when we got to go up a little bit farther, a little bit better in terms of commercial to help offset the tax base that we have, that we're bearing on the backs of homeowners. We got to do that. I was in a meeting yesterday of some commercial developers, and they were all consistent in one thing. You know, and I asked them, I said, what is it going to take for me to get you over to South Fulton? And you know one of the number one things was, we don't like doing business with you. And I said, explain that to me. They said, well, it takes you forever to get through the permitting process. I mean, one guy said, Bill, I've been trying to get out of the permitting process for 1.5 years. The other thing they say is, well, you start with one person, then you get another person. It's almost like starting all over. Okay, all of those things I acknowledge and I agree. But here's the solution. If I'm mayor and you are developers who are going in to permit, I want a 6-month report. Everybody who's there, when they started, why they're there, still there in 6 months, so that we can move this process along. It doesn't. City manager should be doing that, but I'm not going to say she isn't. That's what I would do, so that, because you have to sit down and talk to people and find out what their issues are, and then try to fix solutions to their problems. And that's one of the solutions that I said we need to do. The other thing we need to do is that in terms of economic development, is that we have to make sure that we have the infrastructure that is appropriate for what people want to do. You can't throw a bunch of stuff on the corner and you don't have sewer infrastructure. You can't throw a bunch of stuff on the corner when you know that you're going to have a traffic problem because of ingress and egress from your stores that you have on the corner. You can't do that. And lastly, in economic development, we got to stop waiting on people to come to us. We got to go out with our brochures, with our leadership, and sit down in a Fortune 500 company, find out what it is that's holding them back from doing business with us. How can we reach a happy medium And the last thing you want to say to them is, how can I get you into my arena? We don't do that. We sit back and wait. Well, somebody's gonna come in. Usually the people that come in here are the same people doing the same thing, doing the less quality development that we would like to see in the city. So we got to get a little bit different to that. We got to go out and seek people.
You said a lot there, and
Yeah.
and I appreciate those comments, especially the comment about, yes, we're a community of being the blackest community in America and a state, but we need to be a community of cohesion, working together to progress this city and to progress the county and to progress the surroundings. One thing that everything that you stated, I guess Herman and I can say was part of an operational order
Mm-hmm.
in the military. You have an operational order. And in that operational order, you got these subsets, not only communications, developing the relationships, but you also have the supply chain, you also have the logistic chain, you also have the communication chain. You got all of these things mixed up into one, because as Herman and I can agree along with Vivian, there's always a B to an A, and there's always a C to a B. So if you run into something, you've already thought ahead, because being an operational officer like I was at one time in S3 or G3, you're thinking about the what ifs. And the what ifs is the South Fulton community, where we live, where we pay our taxes, where we need to have the continuity and the relationship with the representatives that represent us, so we can have our concerns and voices heard. So with your background already established of being a former commissioner and former mayor, and with your mission is trying to get us back to where we used to be, I think that would be the right direction if you're successful in becoming the next mayor of the city.
Yeah. Back to where we're going, we need to be and even greater. The other thing we have to deal with is accountability, guys. You know, people hear about accountability, but accountability is no more than trust. When you have a consistency that doesn't trust you, I'll give you a classic example of that. You know, recently we had something on the news about they wanted to put a cap on the millage rate. I'm sure you heard that. It was a big deal. They went to the bank. The bank said, I'll give you the money for what you're doing if you just release the cap on the millage rate. Well, if you go back and look at all of the antics that we've had with these council people and the mayor and all this stuff going on, the community was not willing to trust nobody to remove a very valuable restriction that pertains to money. And so we got on the news again about that, but it was a simple thing. And I told the council people today, I said, listen, it's not about the building. It's not about the interest rate, because the interest rate was pretty good. I said, you all on TV because y'all don't trust one another. There was no trust whatsoever. They don't trust you on anything because you don't act right. And you have shown yourself not to be trustworthy. So that's accountability is all about trust. And lastly, I'm going to say this, and I'll let you guys talk. Listening. One of my pet peeves. We're going to have to start listening to people like yourselves, others in the community. See, service isn't about serving us. It's about service. And sometimes we get confused as if we're serving ourselves, but we aren't. We're servicing a wider community. So you got to listen to that community, see what their issues are, and then try to build a government that's built on a mutual relationship and a mutual understanding as to what those issues are. So I'm going to go out and I'm going to talk to people. I want to talk to people in the barbershop. I want to talk to them in the grocery store. I want to talk to them in the parks and see what they think. 2 minutes at a council meeting when you go up to say something to the council is not enough time. I need to have we can sit down uninformally and have a straight conversation, candid conversation about what your expectations are and what the government's expectations are. So listening becomes very important.
That's a very, very important comment because I've been to several council meetings myself. And one concern from some of the constituents of which I'm one is that that 2 minutes afforded to provide information to the council or those interested is really not enough. So having these listening posts, these focus group meetings in the various communities, I think is important. Yeah, newsletters are great. I don't have a problem with newsletters, but being able to touch and feel and have some type of interaction with the people in power, I think is more endearing and more successful in regards to being able to listen and to hear what your constituents are saying.
Mm-hmm. A learned community is the best community to serve, but people shy away from that. People don't want you. People don't want guys like yourself and constituents to know more than they know. It gets in the way of what they want to do. What I say to that is that let's teach our people what they need to know. Let's teach our people about the government in which they live. Give them a better understanding, and they can help you through the process. It's not
Well, I totally agree, and I also think well, we have to live with the time. Social media is important, but also uh, in-person meeting and being able to meet people and in like town hall meeting, listen to your constituent is very important in the we passed the pandemic, so it changed a lot of things. And social media and technology uh, changes some of the things also. But still, the old-fashioned way, in my opinion, is where you go out and meet people. And trust is very important. And being comfortable with the constitution, being comfortable with you and you being comfortable with them, it goes a long way in building relationships and also building trust.
Absolutely. Long time ago, I sat next to Emma Donnell for 12 years on the board, 14 years rather, on the board of commissioners, and I'll never forget when the whole issue of this computerized thing and emails and all this stuff come on. And she said one time, she says, "Some you can get the word out by email, but sometimes you need to get you some stamps."
Yeah.
Now she was assuming everybody don't have access to a computer. Somebody's being missed in that line of communication because they don't have access. Either they don't have the technology, the equipment, the understanding. They are missing some things in terms of their education and understanding of what government is all about. That's why it's important to get out and talk to people one-on-one. I mean, I don't care if it's but one person show up. I'm just doing what I think that I need to do. But I think if we start this process, more people are going to show, more people are going to ask the pertinent questions, and more people are going to feel safe about their government, their communities, and their families.
Question.
Yes.
In light of the current political climate that's been in place now almost 2 years, and in light of the posture with DEI, in light of the fact of the Department of Military being brought to the point of they want to be deployed to certain cities, Washington, D.C., and others. And in fact, that we now have a political regime that is not, as I say, friendly to communities that are of a multicultural background. What is your objective of goal to make sure that the constituents within this particular area understand what the leadership intends to do to protect them?
So I first have to understand what the leadership is all about and how does that trickle down to the municipality end. I'm very clear. The president is trying to put a lot of the burden on services on state governments. All right. that state government then in turn will have to put pressure on our local governments. So what am I saying? We have to look at our budgets and provide for things that we never had to provide for at all. Because there's a lot of government grants and stuff that we used to get to help us give service to people like veterans and other people. We're not going to get, Mr. Anderson. All right. So the issue is, how do we fill that gap? Do we build a $50 million police station, or do we drop back a little bit and says, we're gonna have to give some support to some of the service entities that we've had going before that helped us out through the years through federal government dollars that we're not going to get. That's the reality of things. When you're in your home and things aren't going right financially, you have to tighten your belt. And you have to do things that you never would have done. You can't be dependent on anybody anymore. That's not the world we live in. The mayor, the governor has, the president has the DC sold up. There's no doubt about it. It's almost pains your heart when you know that things that are happening where somewhere down the line, some veteran is not going to get the support he needs. If we know that, and if we call ourselves government, if we know that, even though you can say it's not your job, if we know that, we're going to have to provide somewhere in our budgets, somewhere in the money that we have, to subsidize the lack of service that some people are going to be getting. I had a text this morning. A lady said she just got a job with the federal government, and she said she didn't know, with this coming down with the closing of the government, she didn't know if they were going to rescind the job or not. Well, 9 times out of 10, they are going to rescind that job. All right. So what happens to a person like that? Is there anything locally we can report to her, or we can tell her? I think they're going to be more and more dependent on county and local government than they ever have. The state has already, Mr. Anderson, the state has already tightened their belt. They're not doing a whole lot of stuff they've been doing before. Not because they don't want to, it's because they can't. And then they're switching some of their priorities from meaningless things let me not say meaningless, from some of the most infrastructure things, that's construction and stuff of that nature, to things like homelessness, mental health, and things of that nature. So we're going to have to make a shift here. If we don't, we're going to be in a bad situation.
Let me ask you a question about attracting business, commercial business for an example, data centers. And that takes up a lot of space and eats up energy. And some residents, some constituencies, or some neighborhoods, or some municipalities are kind of hesitant on it, and there are other ones that are really gung ho about it. So you're in competition with some of these commercial developments. And my question, are they, in your opinion, are they good for the community, or are they something that is not good?
I think you have a twofold question. One being the attracting business. Let's deal with that one first. A lot goes into attracting of business. If you're a Fortune 500 company and you're looking for a place to put your company, and yet you turn on your TV every Saturday and you see South Fulton arguing, South Fulton people going to jail, all these kind of negative things. I can tell you right now, it ain't gonna happen. We got to rebrand ourselves. We got to retool our attitudes if we want people to even look our way. Like I said, I was in a meeting yesterday with a bunch of commercial developers, and that message is consistent, Mr. Aiken, all the way through the conversation. All right. And some of them were, and I go to the second part of your question, that is, some of them were developers for the data centers. Well, my position on data centers is very clear. I understand that we're still going to do the technology. I understand that we're still going to be on Facebook. We're going to be on all these different platforms, even the one we're on today. And there may be a need for a storage place for the data that's coming through or the data that's going out. Well, here's my problem, though. You all may not know this, but you know that the City of South Fulton has already approved 6 data centers. What in God's name do we need with 6 data centers? And the only good thing for a municipality, well, there's 2: the storage of the data, so that people continue to do what they want to do. I understand that. But the bottom line, Mr. Aiken, is that data centers pay a lot of taxes. They don't hire nobody because they don't need nobody. The most you can have in a data center, if you got a big one, maybe 10 people. And I guarantee you, them 10 won't be out of your community.
No.
So the other thing too is, so then here comes the environmental issue. And I posed this question to them yesterday, those who are the data center developers. Can you tell me, if you're going to have a data center, we understand that the need for water is very prevalent in a data center. So I asked the question, are you using gray water? Or are you using water that's been coming in from Atlanta or whatever case may be? That question was answered by, well, we got the technology. We're getting the technology now whereby we can use gray water. Now, gray water is recycled water.
Yeah.
You see most of that on your golf courses, the water, the grass, and stuff like that. Well, when is the technology going to be here? All right. Well, we ain't got to answer that yet. But the other point is electricity. You own every grid in the world. So the answer was, well, we're starting to put in our own substation, and that we're going to use solar energy and things of that nature. Well, back to the point. When you're coming in our communities now, I go down here to in Union City, over on Stonewall Tail Road. I think that's the road, yeah. Have you all seen that one?
Yes.
It's a city. It is a city. They'll tell you that they don't have any noise. That's not totally true. For my investigation, for my looking into it, they have generators, okay? But they have to fire those generators up for maintenance purposes at least once a month. And that makes a tremendous noise. So I understand a little bit of both sides, but the overwhelming fact to me is that environmentally, I don't need 6 bags. I do not need 6 centers like that in this city. Why are we doing it? We're only doing it because it represents a substantial point of a substantial financial base for our city. That's it. Greed can't push you. You can't make a decision based on greed. You have to look at impact, and there's substantial impact that our communities would have in data centers.
I mean, it's surprising to hear you talk about 6 data centers that are already approved, and we see that monstrosity down there on Stonewall Tail and South Fulton Parkway. But it's even more alarming for you to say that they may have less than 50 workers in a building size. So there is no return on the investment for those people living in the community. One, you're going to increase traffic. You're going to increase bottlenecking. There are no job opportunities except for those who are working there that don't even live in our community, taking resources from our community and going other places. So, you know, there's a lot for that city council to think about and to think outside of the box on what effect it will have on the constituents in our various communities. And I'm not sure if that's done. So it's interesting for you to say that. But I have one question for you. Because of the number of people, supposedly 100,000 in this community, has any thought been given to, let's say, and I need your experience on this, a 1 cent sales tax to that base that can be divided into certain areas that will not only uplift the community, but help the community economically because constituents are putting that 1%, 1 cent tax in place.
Now you're speaking of a 1% tax on the user, or you're speaking of the 1% tax on the community?
On the community.
Okay, let me tell you what the deal is. That's not a bad idea, okay? But here's the deal. I'm gonna go back to trust again, right? We can't talk about those sensible things that will get us to the next run because we really don't trust each other. When there's a lack of trust, there's a lack of communication. There's a lack of understanding. What you can say right now could be very understood by those who are learning about the process, but because I don't trust you, it falls on deaf ears. So how do you fix that? You fix that through education. You fix that through listening. You fix that through actually rebranding yourself. Do y'all know that the City of South Fulton name was never voted on?
No,
it was never voted on. All right. It was just a placeholder. Because you remember I knocked down the first name. Remember I vetoed Renaissance?
I remember that.
Yeah, and the veto passed. Well, after we had vetoed Renaissance, we had to use something, you know, for governmental papers and things. So we just hung with the City of South Fulton. It was never voted on. And when I did it, I said, listen, we're going to do this, and we're going to put the City of South Fulton on every document. But it's up to you all to decide what name you want. When I say rebrand, that may be a consideration.
That was my question. Would you consider rebranding, because I'm rebranding my organization? Would you consider changing the name in a rebranding process?
Listen, I consider rebranding, but when you ask me, do I consider changing the name? I have nothing to do with changing the name. That's you. You all have to make that decision.
You mean the constituents?
The constituents, absolutely, absolutely. People say, well, it's going to cost a lot of money. Well, you know what? It's going to cost you a lot of money. Sometimes it costs you money to clear your name up. All right. That's why they got bonds in courtrooms. You know, so you're going to have to do something. We're going to have to do something. The City of South Fulton, that name is just about tainted. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not jumping there to tell you the first time I get in that day, I'm worried about changing that. More things a little bit worse than that. But at some point in time, Mr. Aiken, it's going to have to be a consideration. Are we branded properly? Can we overcome the stigma of the name? Can we overcome the stigma of the processes that we're not done? You know, and so yeah, we're gonna have to do that. And you know, we got a lot of money in the bank now. But you know, I tell folks, my mama told me a fool in his money shall part. So you got to know what to do with the money that you have, because government changes. You all know that. You're military guys. You know, the money changes. Yeah. And you must go to something else. I mean, let's take this for example. We spend some $40-some million for a police station, right? We don't have a police chief. He's on administrative leave. We're paying him $18,000 a month on administrative leave. And they said until he's on administrative leave until the process is finished in terms of the investigation. Well, you know what that could be? Could that be a year? Either you fire the man or you bring him back on his job. But $18,000 a month, That's a lot of money to be giving away to somebody. I mean, that's a hell of a vacation check in. And so we have another guy we brought in to investigate the police department. He's making more than that. Then you got your assistant chief. If the chief's gone, wouldn't it be logical for the assistant to take over? Wouldn't that be a logical thing for y'all? Well, he's there. He's drawing the salary. We got an administrative team. I'm talking about the city manager and 2 assistant city managers that we're paying somewhere in the area of $600,000. $600,000. And we talk about what's coming. You talk about the veterans and what we can do for the veterans, what we can do for anybody. Well, as we stop this wasteful spending and cut back on the things that, I mean, we got 2 city managers. What for what? City of Atlanta don't have 2 city managers. Your city manager makes more money than the governor. Why are we doing this? Why are we consistently giving these people and they consistently using this type of thing? Why are we talking about P cards? Why are people having exuberant spending on their P cards? You know, where are the checks and balances? My thing about the P cards is, if I look at my finance department, and once again, you guys know how finance go through the Army, Navy, and things of that nature. Yep. If something out of whack, you're going to be called immediately, aren't you? You're going to be called on the floor immediately. How do you get all of this stuff? How do people go on luscious trips and things of that nature, and we don't know about it? Somebody knew about it, and somebody said nothing. Somebody knew about it, and somebody approved it.
That's called a court martial.
Right, right.
That's called Article 32 investigation followed by Article 15, and somebody's going to pay the price for it.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, but you understand what I'm saying? You know, you $18,000 a month.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
A lot of money.
And I mean, I'm not saying you're good police chief or bad police chief. All right. I'm just saying there should have been a limit on your statement. But what you said was, I'm gonna put you on what do you call it? Relief or whatever it is. Put you on suspension, and until we get the findings of the report that you haven't started yet. The man's been gone for 3 months.
Well, I have a comment on that. After I got out of the military, I worked in corporate America. In corporate America, you'll be fired. They just fire you.
Hey, and like I said, you know, I don't know why. I mean, we got eight pending lawsuits at the police department right now.
How many?
8. Now, I'm not talking about citizens against police officers. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about police officers against police officers. Brutality, just firing for no reason. And which, you know, some people can do that. You can do it with some people, you can't do it with all of them. I mean, it's just all kinds of stuff that's going. 8 lawsuits right now.
Well, you said some things on our show today that we hope that our constituents listening would pick up on, because we speak truth in the community. We talked about the accountability. We talked about rebuilding trust. Talked about effective communications. We talked about being out there in the community listening. I mean, those are the kind of things that the 100,000 plus people in this community need to know as they move forward with making a decision for the upcoming elections. So I think that your points today were in place, and I hope that through our podcast, when we speak truth in the community, that our constituents have the knowledge to make the decision that's best for them. What do you think, Herman?
I think also we talked about relationships, and we talked about trust, and we talked about organization structure, and that adding that too is what know, we are empowering the community and what we are all about. And I feel like this program, we did a great job of making people aware of that. And Mr. Edward did a very good job. Former Mayor Edwards did a very good job of presenting his points of view on that.
Well, I want Mr. Edwards and Honorable Edwards to know that, being a Booker T. Washington disciple at Tuskegee, I take good notes. And you made some important notes here for us to follow up on. And the thing that also was striking is that, hey, I've already served as mayor. I've already served at Fulton County, but my thing is to provide service and serve well, and that's by trying to return the city back to where it was before.
That's exactly it, Mr. Anderson. You couldn't have said it better. And I just once again thank you guys for allowing me to be on the show. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep providing that excellence in terms of communication, in terms of letting people know how it is, and to help people who need to be helped. Some people don't know where to go. And a lot of times, when I was commissioner, I said this. Some of the most hardened employees that we had in the Fulton County Jail were military guys. Guys who come back and can't get nothing, can't do nothing, can't find nothing. They're going to start doing what they trained to do. They're going to provide for their families. They're going to do what they trained to do. And that's very important. So keep the message out there. It's about we. It's not about you or I. It's about how we can help, how we can save as many people as we can. I'm honored to be. I was never in the military. They stuck me at Morehouse College, so it never bothered me too much. And I didn't go out looking for them. So thank you all for your service and on all levels, you're doing a fantastic job. And my hat's off to you.
Thank you very much. Remember, one team, one mission.
One team. I got it right here. At Morehouse, we take notes too. I got it. You're going to hear me say that a lot more.
One team.
Yeah, one team, one mission.
That's it.
I got it.
That's it. Herman, why don't you take us out?
Well, we had a great program of Veterans Today and WCEG Media. We are a team. We ask our guests to watch other WCEG media programs we are on. And Mr. Edwards had one himself. So we ask the audience to please tune in and everyone have a good weekend. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir.
Appreciate it. Thank y'all so much.